You know, you hate to describe it as a growing trend, but it certainly seems to have become that. Politicians who, for one reason or another, have just basically decided, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And more often than not, those reasons involve the public and the fact that people don't seem to draw a boundary anymore between rather what they can and should say to a politician. And it seems that's the case for Liberal MP Pam Dmoff. She represents the riding of Oakville North-Burlington since 2015 and has just made the decision to walk away from federal politics. She's on the line. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, no problem at all.
We recently had a situation in Quebec, and I think there was a number that came out maybe a few months ago suggesting it about over 100, I think 107 municipal politicians of one way, shape, or form have all decided, after getting involved in politics, to no longer be interested in staying involved in politics. So I'm curious. I know a lot of these cases, certainly as a woman, it's a bit of a different situation. Threats, misogyny. What made you come to this decision?
I think it's, I've faced misogyny since I first got elected. That part isn't new. It's gotten worse. And the threats and the way that people are conducting themselves in public, both at home, but also what's happening, in Parliament, and the disrespect for the institution and, quite frankly, our democracy. And it's just the tone is changed. It's about getting social media clips and likes and engagement on social media, posting the video as fast as you can. And I mean, I've seen it in my office where, a video gets posted on social media and almost instantly the comments on my social media, the emails to my office, that were flooded. And it's really troubling. And, I've never been a particularly partisan person. It's just not for me anymore.
So when I hear you describe this, so you've been in politics since 2015 at the federal level. What were you doing before this? Were you involved municipally or provincially?
I was 5 years on the town of Oakville Council. I was also working in Toronto at the time, but, totally in elected office, it's been almost 15 years.
And you talk about how things have changed, and I guess 2015, it's not that long ago, but in terms of social media, it might as well be forever ago. When you were doing this provincially and, you'd have constituents come up to you, what was the discussion like back then? Was it simply about issues? Because you said you've been dealing with misogyny for a while.
Yeah, no, and I wasn't provincial, I was municipal.
Sorry.
But, yeah, no, that's okay. I remember Sean Fraser, who's now our housing minister, but I remember him saying to me years ago that what he got on social media was it would be negative about a policy that we were doing, and whereas myself and other women, it was personal and personal attacks. I mean, some of the things people have said, you just go, would you ever say that to your daughter or your mom or a woman that you know? It's quite unbelievable the things that people think that they can say just because you're in politics. And I'm not unique at all. I know people here in Ontario who were in municipal politics who left because it was, in fact, they actually moved from where they were living because it was so bad.
It's interesting. We had a situation on the floor of the House, obviously, that you're aware of, right? This whole wacko issue with Pierre Poilievre. People look at that. I asked our listeners yesterday, as someone from the outside looking in, we look at our elected officials and the way they, in fact, act these days, and we say to ourselves, is this really what we want? Is this what we expected from our politicians? Is there any fault there, do you think?
Well, I think Canadians need to start calling out that kind of behavior. We had students in the gallery that day. And, I look at the students and I think, what kind of an example is this for young people? And it's troubling because those young people think that that's how you're supposed to behave. We're supposed to be role models.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not. I mean, I had never seen anything like what happened on Tuesday. And it does show a disrespect for the institution of Parliament and the role of the Speaker of the House of Commons.
I would ask you one other thing, which is, you will hear people say, and it's always easy when, of course, you haven't been in their shoes, but people will hear this about politicians deciding, to walk away for whatever reason. And again, I want to make it clear that I understand it's more difficult for women for what you have to put up with. But some people suggest that, politics is a dirty game. You got into this is the kind of stuff you should expect. Is that wrong?
Well, I don't think anybody should have to put up with this, regardless of their career. I mean, we're seeing journalists targeted now. We're seeing healthcare workers targeted. We're seeing people who work in retail being harassed in person. And, I have had people, the gun lobby in particular said to me, well, it's just mean tweets. You need to toughen up. There's a difference between disagreeing on policy, and I'm fine with that. But when it's personal and the types of, and threats, threatening me or my family, and it's got to be reported. It's not news that MPs are now given panic buttons to carry with them, that we've had to have security audits on our homes and on our offices. There's something wrong when people are feeling unsafe and are unsafe because they've chosen a profession. You do have to have a thick skin in politics. There's no doubt about it. But it's changed since I first came into it from what it used to be.
I hate to sort of ask the question, but I kind of wonder now, given what social media has done and how it's changed, people's perspective, and given basically people a chance to say what they want when they want, anonymously with no repercussions, are we ever going to get that genie back in the bottle?
I don't know. I do think that, the reason I said why I was leaving is because I do think we need to call it out. I wasn't prepared to say I'm leaving politics to spend more time with my family,
right.
And that's not the reason. And I do think politicians, I know Charlie Angus from the NDP has called this out as well. We shouldn't wait until a politician there's an attempt on a politician's life before we start to take this seriously. And I don't think this is what Canada represents. I've had the most wonderful messages from people, and they're so meaningful. I know the vast majority of Canadians are good, decent, kind people, but I think those good, decent, kind people need to be speaking out and saying this isn't for us. And a lot of those folks are afraid to.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have. I thank you so much for coming on. I hope people had a chance to understand why you did what you did, and again, hope that this kind of behavior at some point stops, or at least doesn't continue, because it's going to affect a lot more people, sadly, I think, down the road.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.